everyone. Thank you for joining us in the next session of our Aging Strong and Falls Prevention series. Now, I'd like to introduce you to our presenter for today, Debbie Lynn Toomey, RN, coordinator of the Tufts Medical Center Injury Prevention Program. Debbie, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Becky. I want to continue to thank the Quincy Public Library and also Quincy Access TV for allowing me to do my outreach work in this manner for Tufts Medical Center's Level 1 Trauma Center. So if you are new to this program, the Aging Strong Fall Prevention Program, I've been doing this collaboration for about a year and a half now with the Quincy Public Library and the Quincy Cable TV to be able to inform the aging population of different ways that we could really enhance our longevity, our ability to age stronger. And so we all know that lack of activity, no matter what age, can really lead to many different types of health problems. And so today, I really am very excited to introduce and share with you Denise Medved. And she is the creator and founder of Ageless Grace Brain Health Program. And so, Denise, thank you so much. Where are you in the world?
I am in North Carolina, in the western part of the state, in the mountains, in the Blue Ridge Mountains. This is my sheepdog who's come to be part of the presentation, but he's going to lie down on the floor and leave us alone.
So you have a partner there, right?
I do.
Okay, so today you're going to talk about Ageless Grace and also how it can really help with brain function and how the ability to optimize our brain function, how it's going to be able to help us with aging, right?
Absolutely. I have been doing years of research on the brain, and I will tell you some of my personal story as we go along. I do have some slides to give you. There is an interesting connection between the brain and the body, and between the brain and the body, and things like accident prevention or fall prevention. So that's an important thing to understand, that not only do you want to help your body be stronger as you age, but it's critical that you keep your brain stronger as you age, since its primary function is to control movement of the body.
Yeah, it's very interesting how, because some people, or maybe I would say most people, would think that, okay, if I'm going to be active and healthy and age stronger or more gracefully, I need to keep active. My body needs to keep moving. But then there are also a group of people who would say, no, I need to make sure that my brain is intact so that I don't forget things. I am able to learn new things. So they'll just focus on that, doing puzzles and whatnot. But what you're telling us here is it takes the whole package, right?
Absolutely. The brain is an organ. It's part of the body. However, it is the command central, so to speak. It's what tells everything else how to work. So there's a dialogue going on constantly between the brain and the body parts that we need to move or use to do what we want to do and what we need to do. And both of those are critical to graceful aging. We don't want to just do what we have to do. We also want to do the things that we love and care about and are passionate about.
Yeah, great. I want to learn more about, what you have to offer as far as, this type of philosophy in graceful aging.
Well, I do have some slides to show everyone, and I can walk you through the whole process of, number one, how neuroplasticity works, and number two, what we can do to stimulate or activate neuroplasticity so that both our brain and our body are getting stronger all the time. And it actually turns out that it's simpler than you might believe.
Yeah, you know what? It wasn't until maybe about 10 years ago that I heard about that word neuroplasticity. And for people who are new to this word, because it's a mouthful,
it is a mouthful.
It's very intimidating, isn't it? Can you explain to us what that means?
Yes, neuroplasticity is the ability for you to change the form and function of your brain, specifically through movement. We can do it other ways in small changes, but to really make a big and lasting change that can continue to increase so that you're sharper and your brain works more quickly. And we're able to do what I call the 3 R's: respond, react, and recover. That requires some ongoing dedication to brain fitness, which in turn gives you body fitness. But it's much simpler than it sounds to stimulate and activate neuroplasticity. And would you like me to start my slideshow and tell people a little more about it?
I would love that. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to do a screen share here. So the program's that I'm talking about today is called Ageless Grace, and that's where I get my experience and background from the years of research that not only did I do for 7 years, and I also did pilot programs for many, many years, which I'm still conducting. But it also has been studied and researched by Harding University, Oregon School of the Sciences, Philadelphia School of Sciences, University of Portugal. It's been studied by a lot of organizations and institutions that have determined that it really makes a difference in the brain, even though it seems so simple and so easy, and it's actually fun. So you'll read this line that says it's cutting edge brain body fitness, but it's based on neuroscience, where there's that difficult word, neuroplasticity, but it's also based on the concept of play. And I'll explain why. It actually can be as simple as child's play. So one of the things I want to ask everyone who's listening first is to ask yourselves a personal question. What is your personal greatest concern about your health for the rest of your life? And some of you may be medical professionals or fitness professionals. And in that case, you might ask yourself, what's your greatest concern for your health and the health of your clients for the rest of your life? Well, until recently, the entire world was mostly concerned with cancer and heart disease. But now, globally, the greatest health concern is losing brain function as we age. Fascinating change, right? So people around the globe are specifically concerned about being diagnosed with certain things like Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, and other kinds of cognitive decline. There are quite a few kinds of dementia, for example. There's not just one dementia. So I am actually, it changed slides twice. Well, anyway, I am actually going to be 70 years old in May. And so I am practicing what I preach. I am doing Ageless Grace every day for a minimum of 10 minutes. I'm teaching classes. I'm staying active. I'm doing things that help both my brain and my body. Now, my mom, I want to tell you my personal story, was a brainiac. That's what I like to call her, a brainiac. She did crossword puzzles every day. She did the London Times, the New York Times. She played word games. She used to carry a little book of word games and puzzles in her purse in case she had to wait somewhere in line or in a sitting room. She read 2 or 3 real books, not light fluff, but real books every week. She was a pianist, a school teacher, a writer. And yet, in spite of all that work that she did with her brain, she struggled with Alzheimer's for the last decade of her life. And that is what inspired me to want to do more research, because I said at that time, there is no way that puzzles and games and brain work, taking courses, can delay cognitive decline if it didn't delay it in my mother, because my mother was so brilliant and did that all the time. However, what my mom did not do was any kind of physical movement or activity. She was all the time avoiding exercise, avoiding movement. She didn't like it. She loved to sit and she loved to read and she loved to study and she loved to teach. So it was a shock to find out she had diagnosis of Alzheimer's. On the other hand, the other model I had to watch was my dad. This is really a picture of my mom and dad, by the way. My dad was a sculptor and an artist, and he decided he could sculpt his own body, and he was right. So he became a bodybuilder, and not just any bodybuilder. He was Mr. Wisconsin, Mr. Tennessee, Mr. Dixie, and he had best back and abdominals in Mr. America and in Mr. Universe. So he really took it to the highest level. But English was his second language. He was from Eastern Europe and his family. So he really didn't like to read or study or do word games because it was difficult for him to do the translation. He pretty much only read newspaper articles. That was about it. But guess what? Up until the moment he passed from cancer, he was cognitively sharp and physically fit. Literally a few weeks before he passed away, he and I went hiking on the Appalachian Trail and did 17 miles in one day. He was incredibly physically active and fit. Now, I did the 7 years of initial study and research in neuroscience, in movement and exercise. I was in a graduate program in gerontology, and I was a graduate of the Neuroscience Academy in Sydney, Australia. And the pilot programs I did was in a top U.S. hospital that's in one of the top 100 hospitals in the United States. So it's been highly tested and studied and recognized as a program that actually makes a difference in the brain. Now, my goal in all this study was to understand, well, why do people age so differently? How could it be that my mom and dad, who were married 47 years and did a lot of the same things, could age so differently? Why do so many people age so differently? Why do some people at 50 appear as if they're 75? And why do some people at 75 act and move as if they're 50? And do we have any control over the way that we age, both physically and mentally? Dr. Sarah McKay is the founder and director of the Neuroscience Academy. And I love this thing that she always does is she compares the field of neuroscience today with the study of astrophysics in the 17th century. And the reason is they thought they knew everything about astrophysics in the 17th century. And it turns out they were wrong about just about everything. And they made new discoveries. So that's what's happening with the brain and the field of neuroscience. Rapid new discoveries are happening every week. When I first began studying what movements, what things could influence the brain and brain health, the word neuroplasticity was not on the internet. And so all of a sudden it appeared one day. So that's how all of this started happening. And there was no study that talked about what actually improved cognitive function. And then while I was doing my research, Harvard Medical School came out with a study that said brain games, puzzles do not delay cognitive decline because they only affect a few functions of the brain. So when 2 or 3 functions of the brain are stimulated, it is good. It's a good thing to do that. However, it doesn't delay cognitive decline because it doesn't affect the entire brain. It just makes you better at numbers and puzzles. You get to be really good at it because that's the thing you're focused on. However, one of the things that happens with doing puzzles and games is that there are 5 primary functions of the brain. And it's a little bit like brushing your teeth, meaning if you only brushed your front teeth for years, you already know what would happen to all the rest of the teeth, right? Because they're all a group. They all go together. So same thing with the brain. If you work 1 or 2 or 3 functions of the brain, they'll be strong, but the rest of the brain will be weak. So it's important that your entire brain be stimulated. In a perfect world, that would happen every day, that all the functions of the brain would be stimulated. So what they found that movement makes a big difference in the brain. There are many, many studies that prove that. And I'm going to call it movement instead of exercise because a lot of people hate exercise and they say, oh, no, I'm not going to the gym. No, I don't want to sweat. No, I don't want to lift weights. Well, the reality is it's the physical movement of the body that affects the brain and vice versa. So there are all kinds of movements that you can do that are maybe new to you or a way to move differently than you normally do that will also help with cognitive decline because that kind of movement will, in fact, affect the entire brain. Whoops. My slide's not moving forward all of a sudden. There we go. So there's that word again, neuroplasticity. It is big and you can stimulate it yourself at home and it can have a huge impact on the lives of each one of you. And again, if you're a medical professional or a fitness professional, you can also affect the lives of your clients by knowing and understanding this. So this is what I said earlier. You can actually change the form and the function of your brain and central nervous system. So a reminder of what the central nervous system is. It is the brain and its 5 primary functions. It is the spinal cord, and it's all those thousands and thousands and thousands of nerves and nerve endings. And so what scientists have discovered now is that the best exercise for the brain is physical exercise, not mental exercise or emotional or spiritual, but physical, even though all of those other aspects of ourselves are important as well. So the primary purpose of the brain is to control movement of the body. And from birth to mid-teens, you discovered how to do all kinds of things, but through trial and error. You didn't take courses or study or go to class or read a book about how to walk or hop or run or skip. You discovered by watching your siblings, maybe your parents, friends, peers, to play hide and seek, to play with a yo-yo or roller skate. And then your activities started to get more and more complex, your physical activities, playing on a team, riding a bicycle. And those things were actually developing and changing your brain. I always say, I bet your mama never asked you, why don't you go outside and fire a few neurons? But the activities that you were doing as a child, which we called play, were actually firing neurons, developing neural pathways. And neural pathways are sort of like the internet. They're information highways that deliver messages between your brain and body. So as you play and figure things out, because you didn't already know how to do those things before, you are developing those neural pathways and firing neurons, which are brain cells. So here are the 5 primary functions of the brain. I'm going to use the game of baseball to describe them. It could be anything, but this is a great way to describe the 5 primary functions that need to be stimulated through movement, ideally on a daily basis. So the first thing I want to point out that I'm talking about physical movement. I'm not talking about the way your brain works to plan your retirement or to create some work of art or how to design a bridge. I'm talking about how the brain and the body work together in physical movement. So the first one that we do every day or many times is strategic planning. And it's literally how your brain helps your body figure out how you get from point A to B to C. And I mean literally point A to B to C, meaning for the good of the game. Right now, should I organize my body to hit a home run or to bunt or to hit a line drive? I'm making a decision with my brain and my body about how to get from point A to B to C. And of course, in the game of baseball, my ultimate goal would be to get back home again, right? If I'm at bat. So that's strategic planning. It could also be as simple as where I'm sitting now. If I wanted to get up and answer the front door, well, my body would have to decide what's the first step. Well, the first step would be to get up and sit up. My next step might be to move my arm and my leg forward. My next step might be to move the other leg and the other arm forward. And so I'm starting to strategically plan how to get to where it is I want to go. Now, the next one is memory and recall. And I know a lot of people are interested in this one specifically. But what we're really talking about, whether you realize it or not, almost all memories are related to a physical experience that you've had or recalling information about that experience that you've had. So if you've ever actually connected the ball and the bat and heard that crack, that popping sound, that sensation of actually hitting the ball, then you're remembering the physical experience of how to hit a ball with the bat. But if you never did that in your life, you might have seen someone do that on television or at a live baseball game, or maybe your children play baseball, and you know what it looks like and how it probably feels. So that's the recall as opposed to the memory. Almost all of us, even if we're remembering a fact we learned in school, we're actually remembering maybe sitting in our desk, remembering the teacher that taught us that fact. Maybe if you're as old as I am, remembering the teacher writing it in chalk on the board. You're actually having a physical experience of remembering that fact about geography or history that you're remembering right now. Next is analytical thinking. And what that literally is breaking down the parts or components of an activity. So again, comparing this to baseball, you can pitch, You can bat. You can catch, you can run, you can field, you can slide in home, you can cheer from the stands. You may be an observer as opposed to a participant. So analytical thinking is understanding all the parts or components of a physical activity that you are about to do. The next one is creativity and imagination, and they're slightly different, just like memory and recall, but they're the same function of the brain. And what it basically is attempting to do something physical in a new or different way, or even seeing an image of yourself doing this before you try it. We do this more often than you know. So, for example, something new would be if you already play baseball and you bat right-handed, what if you switched and tried to bat with your left hand? Right away, your brain would be saying, wow, this is new. I have to pay really close attention. I have to talk to different body parts to get this body to be able to hit on this side as opposed to the other side. You could do something really simple, as if you brush your teeth with one hand, just for fun, tonight before you go to bed, brush your teeth with the other hand. And it's going to probably feel awkward. You may even feel a little silly. You may say, oh, this is too hard. I'm going to switch back to my other hand. But if you stick with it, your brain is firing neurons and saying, let's figure out how to do this new activity. And it fires brain cells in order to be able to do that. And if the longer you practice with your left hand or instead of your right, or vice versa, the more you're going to be creating a neural pathway. And the pathway of that neural pathway gets deeper, or a deeper groove, so that it becomes easier and easier for you to do something with practice. So imagination is actually seeing an image of something, probably instance, seconds before you do it. We do that all the time. We just don't realize we're doing it. We're imagining it. We're saying, okay, I've got the bat in my hand. I can see myself connecting with the ball. I can see it going over the big wall, the big green wall, perhaps. So it's imagination. And interestingly enough, imagination and physical activity light up almost the same parts of the brain. So kinesthetic learning is the last function of the brain, and it's about allowing your body to try something physical that you may not know how to do while your brain is observing what you're doing and making you more efficient. And basically, that's what we did from the time we were born. Again, we didn't take courses or read a book about activities. We just played and had a good time, and we were developing our brains. So you don't need to take a course in baseball. You just grab a hat and you jump into the game, or a bat, and you watch what others are doing, and you learn through your body. And you get SMACK. S is strategic planning. M is memory and recall. A, analytical thinking. C, creativity and imagination. And K is kinesthetic learning, the ones we just went through. And that's an acronym, SMACK, to help you remember those if you choose to remember them. Because smack, crackle, pop is the sound that a neuron makes when it's firing a brain cell. It's a little cracking, popping, smacking sound. So we improve through repeating or practicing, as I mentioned, and the groove of that neural pathway gets deeper and deeper. We have 7,000 nerve endings in each hand and each foot. That's a lot of nerve endings. And they help with neuroplasticity because messages travel quickly along those neural pathways, and we fire thousands of neurons, and all of our body is awakened and alerted. Now, playing, we did that all the time when we were kids, and maybe some of us are still doing that as adults, but highly likely not. We tend to stop playing. Somehow we get mature, we get grown up, and the playing thing, which is basically experimenting and having a good time, discovering, being in a place of wonder and awe about what our bodies can do. All of you have children or grandchildren or neighbor children, and you see them doing funny things like hopping on one foot or walking backwards or trying to throw a ball and it goes 1 foot, and then they pick it up and do it again. They don't give up because physical movement and activity is what developed our brains in the first place. The Brain That Changes Itself, which is a book written by Dr. Norman Doidge, says we must learn new things in order to feel fully alive. And when we learn new things, especially physically, we alter genes in our neurons, which change our brain. Fascinating. So neuroscientists now know that not only can we change our brains, but we can do it for the rest of our lives, no matter how old we are. They used to think that we only changed our brains till our late teens or early 20s, and now they know that we can continue to do that right up until the day that we ideally die healthy. That is our goal, to die healthy, meaning we've just lived our lives out. Our bodies have finished doing what they need to do. And there's nothing seriously wrong with us, but we're sharp and cognitive, and it's time to die in a healthy way. That's the goal of all of us, whether we realize it or not. So what this movement does that affects the brain and neural pathways through play is restore, maintain, and develop the brain. And so what we do is two simple things. Do something that we don't know how to do, attempt to do it, try it. Don't be afraid of looking silly or awkward or embarrassing yourself. Try something that you don't know how to do, or do something that you already know how to do in a different way. So, for example, I mentioned brushing the teeth. That's one thing. You could maybe walk backwards up a flight of stairs that's in your home or where you work. You could knit and see if you can switch hands and knit backwards. You could learn to juggle by watching a YouTube. There are so many wonderful things and activities that you can do that cause you to play at discovering something new about your body. Now, they've also done studies that show 10 minutes of movement or exercise a day can be really healthy, not only for the body, but for the brain. And they've even discovered that 10 minutes 2 or 3 times a day is actually as beneficial or more beneficial than doing 30 minutes at once a day or once every few days. The other thing about brain function is that it's actually better to do 10 minutes a day of things that stimulate those 5 functions of the brain than it is to do an hour twice a week. Now, you would think 2 hours of brain stimulation and body stimulation would be better than 10 minutes a day, which only adds up to 70 minutes. But they found out that what happens is it triggers the brain to stimulate and activate that neuron firing. And when it's done daily, not only does it maintain your brain function, but it starts to improve your brain function, and you get sharper and clearer. You're able to focus. You're able to have more attention. So you can stimulate all 5 of those brain functions through physical activity that we might call play. And I don't know about you, but I would much rather play than work out. Even the word workout, I'm not putting it down. Don't get me wrong. I've been doing physical fitness since I was a child because I was born with a spinal condition similar to spina bifida, and I was told that I would be in a wheelchair by the time I was 40. So I've pretty much put my entire life devoted to making sure that I'm not in a wheelchair, and I'm not. I'm not only not in a wheelchair, I am much more active and alert. I'm more physically capable. I feel more sharp than I did when I was in my 20s and 30s, when I was dealing with a lot of spinal pain. So not only does movement help your brain, it also helps your body. So I'm going to have you join me in a little while to do a few physical activities that'll make you more functional, more alert, and more focused mentally. Now, I like to explain this before we do it. We're going to be seated when we do this. And the reason we are seated has nothing to do with our age or our ability to balance or fragility or anything like that. When we're seated, I'm going to ask us to do different kinds of activities and functions that we normally do standing. So what happens in a chair is it causes your brain to immediately engage to figure out, how do I do these exercises seated rather than standing? So for example, if I say, let's swim across the pool and do laps, you're going to say, but I'm in a chair. How do I do that? And your brain's going to figure out, well, the feet are going to have to be in front of me. The arms are going to have to move this way. And so we're in a chair regardless of your physical capability and regardless of your age. If you're 4 years old or 24 or 64 or 104. We do it seated in a chair. Now, it also happens when you're seated that engages your core muscles, and that's where a lot of the central nervous system is, that spinal cord, the core, the chest, the pelvis, the head. We're moving that entire spine, and we're stimulating our vital organs. We're activating systems like the endocrine system, the limbic system, the respiratory system, the circulatory system, and we're stirring up the energy centers in our body. In other cultures, they're called chakras. They're real. They exist along the spinal column. And in a nutshell, what happens is energy, when we move, is created, and it either goes outward or it goes inward into our body. So when it goes inward, it follows the densest line. And in our body, the densest line are bones. And so we have bones that point in this way and down this way and up this way, and bones that curve and point this way. So there's an energy center there where that energy pools when it follows the lines of the bones. So you actually feel more energetic and alive when you're stirring up those energy centers. And again, they follow the spine. So seated in a chair, you're working from the coccyx all the way up to C1, and you are stimulating those energy centers and feeling more alive. And it happens that when we're seated, that we are also leveling the playing field, which means anyone who is in a wheelchair or is frail or who is on a walker or who has some sort of physical challenge can also do this, as well as people who are perfectly healthy. Now, I'm going to tell you a tiny bit about these because we're going to do them. But one of the tools, there are 21 of them, and we call them the 21 simple tools for lifelong comfort and ease, because that's what we all really also want. We quality of life. And I mentioned earlier that we want to do what we have to do: open doors, open drawers, turn keys, twist knobs off the top of things, step up steps, step over the edge of the tub or the edge of the shower. We want to be able to do those things. They're called activities of daily living. But we also want to do what we love to do. So me, for example, I have several grandchildren, and I want to go outside and play horse with my grandsons. I want to get in the floor and play with puzzles and games with my granddaughters and my grandsons. I want to be able to be the grandma that participates in my grandchildren's lives. I don't want to be an observer. I want to be a participant. So one is called Team Fit, and guess what? It's simply doing any sport that you can imagine and pretend to do it in your chair, but don't just imagine it, act it out. Another one is Spelling Bee, where we literally spell words, either letter by letter or the entire word, using our nose or our belly button or our elbow. And that activates all 5 of those brain functions simultaneously. Body math is where we're tapping our foot and our hand, we're counting out loud, we're clapping on random numbers, and it helps us more efficiently learn to respond, react, and recover to and from unexpected things. And unexpected things are what cause us to have accidents, traumas, injuries, or falls. So we need to teach our brain to respond really quickly when something unusual or out of the ordinary happens. And simple games that we can play seated that are physical movements can train our brain and body to do that. Gentle geometry, everyone loves this one, or they love to hate it. It's literally drawing a circle with one part of your body, triangle with another, a line with another, and it's stimulating neuroplasticity by attempting to do something that you absolutely do not know how to do. Rockin' Rockettes or Rockin' Rocky is about moving your legs and your lower body, your hip flexors, your knees, your feet, your ankles. And of course, those hip flexors and the psoas muscle are critical to fall prevention, for example, and to maintaining lifelong ability to do things like I mentioned, step over the edge of a bathtub or a shower, walk upstairs, pick up something out of the floor. Now, this pretending causes the SMACK. And I mentioned this before, that when you pretend, you're strategizing, you're using your memory and recall, you're analyzing, you're being creative, and imaginative, and you're figuring out. So all of your primary brain functions are activated. And I mentioned this earlier that Dr. Deutsch said that imagining an act and doing it are actually very similar to each other. Brain scans show that action and imagination light up many or most of the same parts of the brain. So another one would be front row orchestra, where we pretend to play different musical instruments and we're stimulating the ability for multi-skilling. Power tools is imagining that you're using different tools to build a house, landscape a yard. Dive in, acting as if you're swimming, using different strokes. Moving as if you're different kinds of animals. We have juicy joints, Tai Chi, which is similar to Tai Chi, slow motion movement for stability in the joints. Yo Baby, which is similar to yoga, which is holding and staying in a position to create greater overall flexibility. We have spaghetti spine. You can imagine what it is. The names are silly to help you remember them and understand, like, oh, I need to move my spine like a piece of spaghetti in order to keep it healthy. Express yourself, which is all about your arms, hands, chest, and back. Balancing act, which is about the 3 balance points of the body. The balance point in the ball of the feet, the balance point that's in your center of gravity, which is about 2 inches or 2 fingers below your belly button, and not in the front of you or the back of you, but inside the middle of you. And you have to organize your arms and legs and everything around that balance point to have good balance. And then the last one is the 3 canals of the ear, which have fluid and little particles of bone called crystals. And it's supposed to move easily and swiftly like the ballast in a ship. And so we need to practice all 3 of those for good balance. And then breathe out loud is about oxygenation of your bloodstream and your cells, and specifically your brain. We have saving face because we have tension in the head, face, and neck that needs to be released. We have grab bag for dexterity in the hands and feet. Shake it up, baby, is to shake the myofascial or connective tissue that can get stiff and feel like arthritis. Get down, get up is for the muscle of the heart. And then there's dance party, which is emotional and personal expression. I mentioned earlier that you can do things that are new, play tennis and serve on the other side, or walk or drive a different route from the one that you always take. Change it up every day. Take up a new sport or a new activity. So the exercises I'm going to show you today, we know and have researched that they do activate the 5 functions of the brain, but there are many things you can do just in your daily life that would be something new, something different than you normally do. So taxi drivers in London, for example, have been shown to have a high level of brain function. Now, wonder why that is? Because every moment they are doing something new and different. They don't know who's going to get into their cab, where they're going to ask them to go, where there might be traffic and they have to figure out an alternative route. The streets in London are not laid out like the streets in Manhattan, for example, like a grid. So they may have to wind and twist and go all over the place. And I found out by testing them that they have high levels of brain function from doing something new or different. So we call these kinds of activities your daily pill. We're a society that loves to take a pill because it's a quick fix, but this is called play instead of living limited, PILL. And that's what I'm encouraging everyone to do, is to play and experiment, try something new, do it differently. And it is like taking a daily pill for your brain. If you do some of these simple tools and games every day, you can not only improve your brain and body skills, but you can live a higher quality of life, an ageless, graceful, happier life. So George Bernard Shaw, who was not a neuroscientist or a fitness instructor, he was a playwright and a writer, he said, "We don't stop playing because we grow old." And I'd like you all to say this out loud with me. We grow old because we stop playing. Very important thing to remember, to experiment, to take a risk, to be willing to laugh at yourself and do something that you don't really know how to do. And so here's the formula. Play just 10 minutes a day, every day. Come up with new ideas each time that you do it. Try something you've never done before, or do something you know how to do differently. And you will discover that changing your brain can literally be as simple as child's play. I hope you've enjoyed that verbal part of the presentation, and you might have questions, Debbie, and then we're going to move on and do a little bit of physical movement.
Yes, I do. I have a lot of questions, but as you come off of the share screen so that people can see us, and I know you're going to be doing some of the movement demonstration, which is, somebody in the chat said, I can't wait to start doing some of that movements that Denise was talking about. And I was saying, yes, I can't wait too. You covered so much about neuroplasticity and how important it is. Basically, it's never too late to teach an old dog new tricks, is what that is, right? You can learn at any age. And the trick is to do it consistently. And if you want to really get into it, you need to add that element of play. When you add the element of play, then the whole world becomes almost like a technicolor, right? You get more engaged, you pay attention more, you lose track of time, maybe you're in a state of flow. So it doesn't have to be learning something new, but you could do something that you've been doing all the time and just do it differently, correct? So it's always that element of challenge and stretching the brain and making sure that you're stretching yourself. So I love the SMAC acronym because that makes it easier for people to do. So what do you think during COVID, with people being limited in their normal daily activities, people who maybe would do a lot of things outside of their home are afraid to, or maybe because of the season, maybe they have a seasonal affective disorder with less sunlight. What type of benefits do you think doing these type of activities would have on the population, especially during this pandemic?
Well, first of all, the brain produces chemicals, hormones, proteins that have everything to do with our mood and our attitude. It can affect depression, anxiety, stress, ADHD, and the way the brain is stimulated is through movement. One of the things I like to tell people is that the two words we hear all the time is we need diet and exercise to be healthy. And of course, most of us go, diet, oh, I hate to diet, I'm not successful. Exercise, I hate to exercise. So I replace those words with nourishment and movement. So movement is the key to that. So the brain produces things like dopamine and serotonin and endorphins and oxytocin. Those are all positive mood lifters that lift us up, and they're activated primarily through physical movement. So anytime you can move, and again, it's so easy. Almost all of us have a chair, at least one chair in the place where we live, and you can sit down in that chair. You don't need a lot of space or equipment, and you can move, you can dance. And I'm going to show you some of these fun things that you can do with your imagination that I described. Pretend you're playing musical instruments, move as if you're different animals, draw a circle with one hand and a triangle with one foot. You can play with those things 10 minutes a day in your home, and you might be surprised how you end up laughing, which creates more positive chemicals in your body. And you do it to music, and there are thousands of research studies that have shown that mood is lifted by music. The brain hears it and processes it and causes us to release those positive chemicals again. So put music on, move, and do one of these exercises to the one song, do another exercise to the second song, do another exercise to the third song. Choose music that you like, that you already have at home, your music, whatever it is. And in about 3 songs, you will have done about 10 minutes of movement, because the average song is about 3 minutes long. So you might be surprised how something as simple as that, done first thing in the morning, ideally, somewhere in that first hour where you wake up, will get your body moving, will activate your joints and your joint mobility, and more importantly, it will activate your brain and your mood. So it's something easy to do for yourself while you're at home.
Well, I can't wait. We have about 15 minutes left. Can you give us some of your exercises so that way we can get our day to a wonderful start.
Absolutely. I'm going to go right back there to that chair. That's what I call my Goldilocks chair. It's not too big. It's not too soft. It's not too hard. It's just right for me. And you probably have one of those in your home too. So I hope you will all not watch me do this, but do it with me. We can't see you. So you're not being watched or observed. And it'll get you into the mindset that, gee, I can experiment and do something new and not be embarrassed. I'll actually laugh and have a good time and play. So here we go.
Awesome.
So I'm going to put some music on also. And the first one that we're going to do is called Body Math. And you're going to get confused. I probably will too. But don't stop when you get confused. Keep attempting to do it. All right. So here we go.
Great.
So just tap your foot to the beat. Now tap your hand. Now switch sides with me. Now there'll be a little bit of a delay on Zoom, but don't worry, just follow along and do what I'm doing. And now we're going to count from 1 to 8 on each side. Switch sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Clap on 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Clap on 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now only count to 4. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Clap on 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Count to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 backwards. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3 forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 backwards. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Clap on 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Wow. It's a good thing I was sitting down. Otherwise, I don't know.
I know. So the whole idea of this is that you get a. Oops, that's my puppy dog barking in the background. He's playing along with us. So the whole idea is that you get mixed up. It's teaching us to respond, react, and recover to something unexpected and keep going. And over time, simple things like that start to get our brain and body to talk so quickly to each other that when we round the corner and almost bump into someone, we're able to avoid it. When we trip over something, we're able to catch our balance and not fall. It's a trigger for teaching us to react quickly to unexpected things. So we don't have to practice falling. We have to practice being surprised and taken off guard. That's exactly what that tool does. So here's another one. This is called Rock and Rockettes or Rock and Rocky. It's for those hip flexors and the psoas muscle, which allows the upper and lower body to be able to interact with each other so that we can pick up something out of the floor or walk upstairs or step over something. A lot of the things that are associated with aging, but in fact have everything to do with your psoas muscle. So here we go with this next one. So take one leg and take it in and out, in and out. At the hand, and you can see right away from a seated position how that's working adductors and abductors, inner and outer thighs, the groin area, and the psoas, other side. And again, there might be a little lag depending on internet speed, but all you have to do is just follow along. Now go out and in and out and in and out and in and out and in. So we're working that psoas muscle. We're working those legs and thighs, but we're also working the brain. Out, in, out, in, out, in. Now we're simply going to cross our legs. You can cross it high. You can cross it low, down here. It's up to you. You choose. Way up here or way down here. You can even use your hands to lift your leg if you like. So it's amazing what you can do with your feet and legs in a seated position. How about if we do a few kicks? Toes up. So you're going to see the sole of my foot because the toes are facing up. Flexed ankle. How about to the corners? Out, kick, out, kick, out, kick, out, kick. And then rumble with me. Good job. Nice. Now this next one that we're going to do is called spelling bee, and we're going to spell the word brain. Watch what happens. So let's start with just a capital block letter printed B and do it with one hand so you understand what I'm talking about. You're making a big B several times in the air. Big B. Now let's make a B with the other hand. Big letter B. One more time. Now with one foot, let's make the big capital letter R. The capital letter R. Block letter printed and draw it several times. And of course, the range of motion is up to you. You might make a little R, or maybe you can make a bigger R. Totally up to you. Now we come to A. Let's use our hands. Wide legs, big A. And then we cross it, right? Big A. And you could cross it from the left to the right, or you could cross it from the right to the left, because an A looks the same coming and going. Now here comes the I. Let's do the I with our nose. Draw as big a straight line with the I as you possibly can with your nose. And in the end, we're going to do with our belly button. Draw a capital letter, block letter in with your belly button. I always say it's the most underappreciated, underused, underutilized part of the body. The belly button is great. Now that you've done the in this way, I want you to draw it backwards. You might have to think about that one a minute. A backwards capital letter in. I don't know about you, but it makes me smile right away to do these silly, playful things. Now with both elbows in lowercase cursive, write B-R-A-I-N, lowercase cursive, and go back and dot your I. Boop. So you could use any word. You could do the whole word all at once. You could do it in cursive. You could do it in Japanese. You could do it in Spanish. You could do it in Arabic, whatever. Play with spelling with different parts of your bodies because it stimulates all 5 of those brain functions, S-M-A-C-K, simultaneously. It's pretty fun too, right? Now I'm using fairly short songs today, but again, the average song is between 3 and 4 minutes because I want to get in a bunch of exercises to show you so that you can practice at home on your own brain body health. So this next one we're going to do, you're going to love to hate. It's called gentle geometry. And gentle geometry is circles, lines, and triangles. and it stimulates neuroplasticity by doing something you don't know how to do. So I want you to draw a triangle with your foot in the air. So far, not so bad, right? Triangle with your foot. So the whole point of this is for you not to be able to do it, but to keep trying to do it. Now, with that triangle, I want you to add a circle with your opposite hand. Uh-oh. Circle with the opposite hand. Uh-oh. Triangle foot. Circle hand. Oh, boy. Triangle foot, circle hand. Now, if you've sort of kind of got this, I want you to add a horizontal line with the other hand, because I want you to have to really concentrate and think and try to coordinate all these different body parts doing different, whoops, my foot changed direction, see? Triangle foot, horizontal line hand, circle hand. Oh, my triangle's falling apart. Keep trying. Don't stop whatever you do. When you stop or even think, I can't do this, I'm going to stop, then the neurons stop firing. As long as you're really focused and concentrated, they're firing away, just like when you were learning to ride a bicycle as a kid or tie your shoe. Now switch. We're going to mirror it. Make a triangle with this foot, triangle here, and that would mean this hand is making the circle. And just notice, is it easier on one side than the other or more challenging? And then add that horizontal line. Oh my goodness. Keep going, keep going, keep going, even though the music stopped. Horizontal line, circle. Oh, horizontal line, circle, triangle. I'm all mixed up. But keep going no matter what. Keep trying. So you can almost feel your brain firing neurons, if that were possible, because you're so focused and concentrated that when you do this for the whole length of the song, that's 3 or 4 minutes long, you will actually say, oh my gosh, my head is tired. My brain is tired, because you're stimulating such firing of neurons by doing something that you don't know how to do. And of course, that's not the combination you use all the time. You're always changing it. You can make a triangle with your hand and a line with your foot, or a circle with your belly button and a line with your hand. Who knows? Just mix it up. Circles, lines, and triangles. That's gentle geometry. Now,
Denise, what I do notice is we are definitely using the core muscle, because I can feel my core. My heart rate has elevated. I'm taking deeper breaths. Definitely the element of fun is there. And, at first I didn't know how the core would be engaged by doing seated exercises, but now I'm able to really see firsthand how we're really engaging a lot of muscle groups.
Absolutely. And I'm going to show you another one that really involves, we're always using the legs, the core, and the upper body all the time. And of course, you've got the chair, whether it has arms or doesn't, you can hold on to or get your balance or use it as a prop almost.
Yeah. How important it is to not only do brainiac-like exercises to help with longevity and aging, and it's very important to engage the whole body and the brain in order for us to really continue to be a lifelong learner.
Absolutely. And it can be fun. It doesn't have to be hard. It's movement. It's not exercise. And yet, as you said, boy, does it work the core, the hips. I mean, everything's moving. And in a class, if you go to a class of this, where you're doing 45 minutes to an hour, and you move from one exercise or tool to the next, you would be amazed how your heart rate gets up. And yet you're still supported by a chair. So like I say, it levels the playing field. Very healthy triathletes can do this, and people who are on walkers or canes.
This clearly is a very unique form of program to help us with aging. So how can people learn more about you?
Well, we have a website called agelessgrace.com. And on there are blog articles about everything and the brain and how it's affected by the brain and how the brain affects that thing, whatever it might be that you're reading about. Aging, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, children, autism, all those things are in blog articles. We also have handouts. We have classes that you can purchase, and you own that class, and then it's on your computer and you can watch it and do it anytime you want. They're with me. There's several different classes and class options. We have workshops that can tell you more about the brain and neuroplasticity and the 21 tools. And we also have certification for someone who might like to teach this program. It's a 14-hour certification done on Zoom. So there are lots of things on there that you can use to help you practice this at home and live a better quality of life.
Well, thank you so much, Denise Medved. I've learned so much from you in this 1 hour, and I can tell you it really flew by fast. Thank you, Thomas Crane Public Library.